So if you got to see some of the baptisms that were rolling along the screens in between before church, that was the most amazing thing that we did on my trip. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about, I was just recently got back from Uganda again. That was the 5th time I've been there. So Jeff Huber, who runs God's Tender Mercies, met me there. And he heard from God when he was in the bus on the way to Pastor David's house that he should talk to the children about being baptized. So we talked to them about it, he preached about it, and we had 27 children baptized that day, plus Grace. So they were publicly acknowledging that they wanted to follow Jesus Christ for the rest of their life, that they were going to die to their old self and become new with Jesus Christ. And it was such a day. You don't even know. Jeff had never baptized anybody before. I had never been around that many of them. So each one was baptized, and then we prayed with each one of them, each child. And I know all these children by name. There's 33 of them, but I know every single one of their names. And I know their smiles, and I know when they're sad. And they are part of my God-given family. They really, really are. It was a blessing to be there. So talking about prayer, I've been asking God for 6 years, since 2014. I think it was in February or March that me and Lynn and Kim went to Uganda for the first time. And before I went, I got baptized right there. It was like a new beginning for me. And I kept asking God, you know, my husband's died, I'm single, I don't really have any ties. You want to send somebody, why don't you send me? And he kept saying, no. And then I would come back and I would tell y'all, well, God says not now. And then the next time I would come back and I would say the same thing. For 6 years, I've been praying the same prayer. Well, I think that wait is over. I know for sure that December 18th, I am retiring from the post office. I will have my 20 years in, and I'm done. Amazon is about to kill my back, and I'm not going to be hurting when I'm retired. So it's just time for me to go. So now God is really starting to line up everything. And when I think about this, people will ask me, you're going to be a missionary? And I'm going, ooh, I don't like that word, me. Me? There's no way I can be a missionary. And then I remember when my friend Elise came to me last night that Elise is a missionary. Elise is a missionary in Jamaica, and that's where she lives. And what a missionary is someone who goes out, which really just means out your front door or out of your car or out of your way to talk to someone about the gospel. And that's what a missionary is. And so I'm going to try and not flinch when I hear that word about me anymore. Because when I was in Africa, this time, but even the time before, I would sit there and I would hear those children, and I was in the middle of God's will for me. And it was and is incredible to be in that place where you just know you are doing exactly what he wants you to do. The feeling is just joyful, peaceful, loving. It's all the fruits that you can imagine, just all charged up within you. And that's where I feel that, for some reason, in Uganda. So I know that I can be a missionary. But then I worry about my friends there say, but have you been called? Called? Let's see. You know, I have a phone, but no, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about being in the middle of God's will, but it's a little more than that. A lot of people, now I've told them I'm going to Africa, they're saying, oh, you're so brave. You know, I'd be scared to do that. Oh, you are sacrificing so much. I wouldn't want to do all that. oh, I couldn't do that. That's just too hard. And I listen to all those things and I go, I don't know what y'all are talking about. First of all, I'm not brave because I've never been scared over there. So how can I be brave when I'm not scared? God is with me every second of every day when I'm there. Sacrificing. Well, the funny thing was we were talking about this, me and Elise, and then she ran to get her daily bread so we could read it together. It was about people being called and about sacrifices. And when I started reading the list, you have to give up your friends, your family, where you live, your job, and I'm going, oh, well, okay. Well, I guess I am sacrificing things. However, for 6 years, God's been leading me on this path. So it just doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It feels to me like I'm being selfish, that I get to go. So I think that's what being called is. I'm pretty sure that that's what being called is. So I'm retiring on December 18th. I'm leaving Sedona, going back to the other part of the country because that's where my family is. Probably selling everything I own, buying a one-way ticket to Africa, and then I'm just going to let God show us what the next step is. I'm very excited. Very excited. I'd do a little joyful dance, but I don't want to do that right now. No, I'll do it tonight. So anyway, that's the update about me. I'm excited. I'm going to be 59 years old, and I get to start a brand new life. Talk about being baptized, starting out new creation. It's just amazing to me. So anyway, the kids. I wanted to update you on the beds. They love the beds. And that's a picture of all of them. But the beds, we're halfway there. And I know they've got the money. The beds are paid for, but we're only halfway there. That's 6 triple deckers. That's 18 kids in bunks, but it's really more than that because most of the little ones pair up. So there's at least two people in each bunk. They love them because it gives them a place to put their stuff. We all need a place for our stuff. And some of them are really organized, but they have their bed and they have a place for their things. And the other beds are coming. The problem is there's only so much space in these two houses. And because of where they're at, everything has to come in at night. You don't leave a shoe outside or it gets stolen. All the animals have to come in. All of the chairs come in. Everything has to be locked tight every night. So the next prayer request from Pastor David is we want to enclose the compound. He wants a wall around the whole place, but we're not so sure that's a good idea because then it kind of seems like a prison. So we're thinking maybe a couple of walls and then a fence so everybody can still see in and see, what a family of God looks like. Because they are meant to be a light shining in the middle of Uganda. So we're working on that. We're praying about that a lot. The turkeys. Oh my gosh, guys, the turkeys. When I came back last time, there were 5 turkeys and we just lost 7 babies because we didn't know how to keep them alive. There are more than 30 turkeys now. Turkeys are kind of becoming a problem. But another reason for that fence is it would also keep them inside because the turkeys just go off and sometimes they disappear. We don't know if they get eaten, if they get nabbed, or what. So that's another thing about the turkeys. But we're learning about turkeys a little at a time. They still think that I'm the reason that their turkeys are alive. And they are so wrong. But God put me in that place and gave me the resources to help them to figure it out together. And if I become a missionary, that's what I want to do. I want to go. I want to be where God wants me, and I want to help walk with them and figure out, how do we do things together? That's the whole idea. So, yeah, I don't get the credit for the turkeys. No, I won't go there because I don't want to make this too long. What I did do with the kids this time was prayer journals. I taught them about prayer, and I used what I learned here in this church was the ACTS, the ACTS way of praying, And I kind of tricked them into learning how to do a prayer journal. So we started with Thanksgiving because I thought that was the easiest one. And I asked them to write a list of everything they thanked God for. And so they all made their list that day. And then the next morning, I said, now we're going to have 5 minutes of prayer. And we did this every day till I left. Everybody closed their eyes. 33 children were silent for 5 minutes. And I set a timer on my iPad. And we prayed. I said, now you know what to pray for. Pray for all your thankful things. And then I said, after that, now the next thing we're going to do is A stands for adoration. So then we made a list of all the reasons that we praise God or why we love him. So they wrote that list. The next day I said, now you have 2 things to pray for. Now you pray for praising God, adoration, and now you pray for all your thankfuls. And then the next day we did confession. And I said, now this one's a little harder, but you need to ask God to forgive you for something that you've done wrong. And I promise I'm not going to read these. I was reading the other ones. I said, we're going to write this inside, we're going to close it up, and I won't read them. And then the last one was supplication. So I asked them to write a prayer for themselves, something God could help them with. So anyway, every day we did this 5 minutes of silence and wrote these lists. So then Jeff showed up, and it was a few more days later. But anyway, I got there that day, and I said, okay, now you have 4 lists. This is how you keep a prayer journal. I said, I'm going to give you a book, and now you can write these things in the book, and you have just started to learn how to keep an account of the things that you're thankful for, the things that you adore God for, the things that you confess to him, and the things that you want him to help you with. I said, that's what a prayer journal is for. So their eyes lit up. I went and bought notebooks. I had pictures of all their prayer partners that we pasted in there and prayer requests from their prayer partners. So now they also knew another thing to pray for. They all have prayer partners if you're a guest or something. So that was what we did with the kids. Oh, you can change the slide. I'm sorry, I forgot to do that. So this is the new thing. We have a YouTube channel, just in case you want to try and find our YouTube channel, which has all of those baptisms on it. It has a little tour of the compound, including the turkeys. It has a really nice message from Pastor David about his ministry with the children and also his ministry in the refugee camp. And we're gonna be uploading more. So if you look for God's Tender Mercy and you see that picture, that's Pastor David and Grace, then you'll be able to look at all those videos anytime you want. And the next one is, I didn't quite get that on there, but that's me and Grace. That's one of my favorite pictures. Grace is a huge gift from God to me. Maybe I'm a gift to her too, I'm not sure. I think so. Every morning we dance together. It's what I do, and she does too. But anyway, when I go to Africa, I post everything on Facebook. So if you want to be a Facebook friend, just put in my email address and I will be a friend with you. Or I also send out a monthly newsletter to the prayer partners. Should you want to get that, it's, you can just email me and I'll add you to the list. So that's what I did this time. I'm going back again, of course, in May. I can't stay away for a whole year from those kids. They're just in my heart that much. So anybody who would like to go can go with me. That would be great. The reason I went to Africa for the very first time was when I was sitting in that pew and Lynn Gallagher stood up and said, anybody want to go to Africa? I'm going in March. And I went, I'll go. So you never know. It might be God's path leading you to who knows what, because this has been going on for 6 years, and now I'm going to be living in Africa next year. So thank you for your time. Now we are going to worship, and I did learn a tiny little bit of Acholi. I'm going to say, Amito we botlabanga. Let's sing to the Lord. Amen.